Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, what is tapping? Very briefly, for those of you new, we call it tapping because we are literally physically tapping on endpoints of meridians of our body while focusing on the stress, the anxiety, the pain, whatever is in our way. And what the latest research has shown is that when we tap on these endpoints of meridians while focusing on this stressful issue, we send a calming signal to the amygdala in the brain. And I know that you'll all know the amygdala is the fight, flight, or freeze response center in our brain. It's a part of us that when we're overwhelmed, when we're on Facebook, when we're reading the news, when we're interacting with family members, and we feel stress, anxiety, overwhelm, too much coming at us, too much to do, lack of clarity on decisions, overwhelm, pain in our bodies, stomach upset, everything we're looking at, underneath it all, that amygdala is firing. Underneath it all, that stress response is happening. So let me say that again. Family relationships, pain in our bodies, the news, COVID, all these things, any place in your life where you feel stuck, where you feel like something isn't working properly, where you want something to change, I guarantee you that associated with that challenge is a stress response somewhere. Somewhere along the way, your body's activating that stress response. Now, a challenge with that stress response in particular is what happens when we're stressed? The blood flows away from our forebrain into our arms and legs, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. Why is it called that? Because it's a part of us that is designed to fight, to freeze, to run, to do something about it. So the blood flows away from our brain into our arms and legs, away from our digestion, away from growth and repair into our arms and legs. So imagine this. You have a financial challenge. You're stressed about an upcoming bill. You started a project that's not going right where you think it's going to go. You want to write a book, but you keep getting stuck. You have this stress response firing. You think about the bill, you think about the mortgage, you think about everything you have to do. That stress response is firing. Now imagine we activate this. So we think, okay, when that fight or flight response is firing, I'm like being chased by a tiger or a lion, this ancient response, right? This ancient response to danger. So there you are. You're being chased by a tiger or a lion or a bear or whatever you want to imagine. You're feeling that stress. And I come jogging up next to you and I say, hey, I see you're having a challenge getting started on that book. I've got some ideas for you. What if you do this first? You look at me and you go, Nick, there's a tiger chasing me, right? Or I come to you and I go, hey, I know you're being chased by a tiger right now, but tell me about your dreams and goals. What's your vision for your life? What do you want to create in the world? What are you going to create today? And then you say, hey, I don't know if you noticed, but there's a tiger chasing me. When we are in this fight or flight response, we don't have the resources, we don't have the skill sets, we don't have the blood in our brain to make the decisions to transform our lives. What's so powerful about tapping, what's so powerful about anything that turns off that response, that brings us to that place of peace, is that when we do that, we activate our inner resources. We activate all that goodness and creativity and joy. All those things are available when we allow ourselves to relax, when we allow ourselves to feel safe, when we release trauma from the past, when we begin conditioning our body to let go. And if we look around at society, if we look around at, even work, most work environments are like, go, 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 push, push, push. You're not doing enough. You got to do more. Get through the to-do list, overwork, get it done, get it done. And certainly, yes, there's times to do that, but what happens when we do that? I mean, how many of you have started something, had all this fire and energy? I mean, I did, I went to UPW in 2001, my first Tony event, right? So it's like you do the weekend, you come off the weekend, and you are just charging out the door. The next 3 days, you're planning and this and that and the other. You're just burning the midnight oil. And then by the fourth day, you're like, I'm done. I got nothing, right? I've used it up. Willpower, this energy, it's a muscle. It is something that runs out. But I'm going to propose all the times we meet as your Growth Day coach when I come back is that there is a way to create that energy when you need it. And then there's a way to rest when you need to rest. There's a way to be focused and disciplined while being relaxed at the same time. And that is what's possible when we begin to train our body to feel differently, to relax, to let go. So, the theme for this month is wellness. And certainly, uh, tapping is very associated with wellness. What do we have when we're looking at wellness? We have food, diet, really important. We have supplements, the right medicines for you, whatever you need, that extra care. We have exercise, we have sleep, we have these staples. Then we have this new world of stem cells and biohacks and this, that, and the other. And I'm a fan of all it. I listen to all the podcasts and I try the supplements and I do this, that, and the other. But I've been thinking a lot recently about those external things. And we're certainly conditioned as a society to think, oh, well, give me that bottle of pills. And most people are conditioned to go to the doctor. I'm feeling this audience is not, right? They don't take too many white pills, hopefully. But this audience probably takes a lot of brown and weird colored pills, right? Where we go, okay, I'm not into the doctor stuff, but the supplements I'm into it. And I'm with you. I mean, the amount of money I've spent on supplements in my life is dramatic. And potentially, many of them are great. But if I have to stack a bottle of something, an external bottle of something that someone manufactured, that someone else told me to get, that someone said this is going to be good for me. Just think about that. So this is the stack. This is the competition we have here. We have this bottle of something that someone else told you to take that maybe you can digest, maybe you can't, maybe it's good for your liver, maybe it's not, who knows? Or we have this tapping thing. We have this weird thing where we're tapping on endpoints of meridians of our body. And we stack the two, and this is what I see. The supplements, I don't know what it's going to do. It might be good. It might actually be bad. I hate to say it, right? Some people are like, nope, you don't need that, or your liver doesn't do well with that, or it does nothing, and you're paying a lot of money for it. That costs money too, by the way. Or we have this thing where what's happening when we do it? What's happening when we tap these endpoints of meridians? What's happening when we acknowledge the feelings that we feel in our body? We immediately lower cortisol. So research study that's been done on tapping, it was just replicated, meaning it was done again by a different researcher. There was 3 groups. They all spit into a tube, their saliva. They measured cortisol before and after. Cortisol, the main stress hormone. When you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, cortisol is high. It peaks and valleys throughout the day, but too much cortisol means too much stress. A huge number of damaging effects to the body that any doctor or scientist or researcher will acknowledge. So 3 groups, they spit in a tube. One group did an hour of tapping. The other group did an hour of psychoeducation. Hey, let's learn about stress and the body and how it responds. And the third poor, sad group just read magazines for an hour. The tapping group, 43% reduction in cortisol in 1 hour, which is a dramatic decrease. The psychoeducation group, a 19% decrease in cortisol. So that's a nice solid drop. Potentially gives us some clues about how when we are learning something, when we are relaxing just because we're feeling hopeful, because we're activating our minds, we lower some of the stress in our body. So even just by listening to me now, according to that research, and that poor third group reading magazines for an hour, their cortisol went up 2%. So sitting there, maybe bored. I like to say, hey, let's do that study again with Facebook. How about your Facebook news feed? See what that does to your cortisol. Maybe go on Instagram, maybe read the news. Let's see what that does to your cortisol. So we see a clear definition of a dramatic drop in cortisol from tapping on endpoints of meridians of our body. And what happens when you lower the cortisol? That's just one effect. When you lower the cortisol, when you relax your body, everything works better. There is zero doubt, and you've all had the experience, when you are more relaxed, your body works better. It's not like maybe, or, oh, I hope I take the right supplement, or there's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you are more relaxed, if you release tension from your body, if you release stress from your life, your body works better. End of story. No one's arguing. Now, if we look at diet, for example, food diet, really important, but we can't decide what to eat, right? So no one knows. Diet itself is so stressful for people. I have a gut health meditation inside the app, and I just heard from someone who said that she used it for 3 weeks. She had had gut problems for a year, had tried everything, nothing had worked. She did it once a week for 3 weeks, and she says she is completely transformed. In that gut meditation, one of the things that I go over is just the stress of food. We have supplements, we have diet, we have all these external things that we're doing our best with. We're trying to control, we're trying to live a healthier life, we're trying to stay up to date with the podcast, but it is challenging because we don't have definitive answers. What we do have definitive answers about is the fact that if you release stress and anxiety in your body, if you let go of that anxiety, if you find a way to calm down more than you have before, everything will work better in your life.
I am thrilled to be here. We're talking about focus and discipline. And I'm so happy that there are so many self-development junkies in here like me. This is something that I've loved to do for many years, but I made a very common mistake, and I see it happening a lot. For a very long time, I thought that I could put enough pressure on myself and have enough anxiety that it would lead me to being more focused and productive. For a long time, I was trying to hate myself happy, criticize myself thin, shame myself wealthy. I looked at my critical voice and self-talk, and I felt kind of proud of it, to be honest. I thought, if I can just be hard on myself, then I can kick my butt into gear and finally get that focus that I want. And this is the tricky thing about stress and pressure, is that it actually works for a very short time. If we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, we're feeling a lot of stress, we'll have that buildup of pressure and we'll take action. And for a short time, we're going to stay focused, right? We're going to get it done. But then what happens? We find ourselves sabotaging ourselves. We sabotage our own success. We get exhausted. We get distracted, because our action is being fueled by pain and not by purpose and desire. And so I was doing this over and over again, this cycle. Be hard on myself, be critical, push myself forward, take action, be a little focused, self-sabotage. Einstein says that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I had to be honest with myself and realize that my strategy was insane. And it's really hard to wake up to this because, like I mentioned, it does work for short bursts. But if we're looking for long-term focus, for long-term momentum, we need to take a different approach. And to do that, it's important to look at some of the blocks around focus and discipline. And that is what we're going to be doing here. So one of the biggest blocks, block number one, is self-sabotage through procrastination. And this is what I see happening all of the time. And some of us think like, oh, this is just a character default, but none of you were born and no doctor ever said, congratulations, you have a procrastinator. It's not something that we're born with. It's not who we are. It is a symptom of something else. Procrastination and self-sabotage are misguided self-love. You're putting so much pressure on yourself to focus and to get things done that after a while you feel depleted and you feel burnt out. And suddenly that self-sabotage is a way to experience a sort of self-love. It's a way to take a break. If you never give yourself an easy way to take a break, if you never allow yourself to be fueled by passion instead of pain, you'll always turn to that self-sabotage. And so if we look at self-sabotage as misguided self-love, what it allows us to do is, first of all, we have a little more compassion for ourselves. We can be a little easier on ourselves. And we can take a step back and begin to look closer to understand what's really going on below the surface. Your subconscious mind has one focus, which is to keep you safe. All it wants is safety. And what's safe? Certainty. What's familiar? Staying the same. Sometimes being stuck and miserable feels safer than getting focused and moving forward. Everything is about safety. And so I look at my purpose and my passion is to help other people's hearts know that it's safe to change. If you feel safe to dive into something and to commit, you're better able to do that. And so we have to take a step back and look at what are some of the beliefs that may be keeping us stuck and frozen. How can we begin to feel more ease and more safety around taking a chance? Because focus and discipline is about taking a chance. It's about diving in. It's about trying something new. It's about commitment. And that can seem very scary. So a great question to ask yourself in order to look below the surface is, what's the downside of being focused and getting this done? And usually when I ask someone, they're like, no, there is no downside. This is all I want. All I want is to have more energy, more focus, and to get it done. But when we really slow down and we look at that self-sabotage, we look at the times where we know what to do, but we just aren't doing it, we might reveal and discover some limiting beliefs. So from working with thousands of people through using tapping, some common beliefs are, if I really focus and get disciplined, it means that I won't have time for my family. Now, this community, that's not how we roll. We know that this isn't just about achievement, that this is about quality of life. Brendan makes that clear. But there is something different between logically knowing something and your body knowing it and truly believing it. Sometimes we tell ourselves something, but we still feel that fear in our body. We can be so positive, we can say all the right things, but we have that tightness in our chest when we want to start. We have that fear in the pit of our stomach. And this is why I love tapping, because it is a tool that uses the mind and body. It's about helping the mind and body be congruent so you can move forward with more ease. Because when you have a negative thought, it's not an experience that you just have in your mind. Like I said, you're feeling it with your whole body. So it's important to address the physical aspect of those beliefs. So some common beliefs, like I said, one is, if I'm disciplined and focused, I won't have time for my family. I worked with a client once when she looked at her procrastination and she said, if I never get it done, it'll never be criticized. Think about that. If you never fully focus and get something completed, then you can't fail because you're always in that limbo. And so we have to feel some safety to focus, to try, and to fail, and to be disappointed. We have to be okay with making mistakes to have the courage to move forward. What's another one? What's the downside of getting focused? The downside is, if it doesn't work out, then it proves that I'm not good enough, right? So you want to get clear on what are some of those fears underneath it. Another example, I worked with a client once who she remembered that when she was a kid, she really got focused. She studied for this test and she got an amazing grade. And she ran home and she couldn't wait to tell her mom. She told her mom, and her mom said, hush, you're going to make your sister upset, because her sister was struggling in school. And so suddenly she creates this belief that my success makes other people feel bad. And so she was always sabotaging herself and stopping herself. If you have a community of friends who always complain about finances or their weight or whatever it is, and suddenly you achieve that thing, will you then feel left out, like you don't belong anymore? Now, I'm giving you these examples so that you can begin to explore and simply reflect. Maybe something comes up, maybe it doesn't. But the key here is to give ourselves an opportunity to realize, what are some of the beliefs that are keeping me stuck, that are keeping me playing small, that are keeping me from focusing?
It's important to understand that confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the courage and strength to take action despite the fear. So what I want to share with you just to get going is something that I call the action gauge. And we have on one side, we have fear, and on the other side, we have our action limit. And I want you to think about this as you think about anything that you go to do in your life where you go, I really want to take this action, but I'm not taking this action. Because there are two things that are going to drive our ability to do that. One's going to be the fear and how high it is. And the other thing is going to be our action limit of how far up we are willing to take action on based on fear. Different people have different limits of comfort of what they're willing to push through. Let's say that your fear is a level 8 and your action limit, which is your confidence, which is how assured you are of what you're going to do, is a level 2. How likely do you think that you are going to take action if your limit on taking action is a level 2 with fear, but the task that you want to accomplish is a level 8? Not very likely, right? So there are two things that we can do in order to actually build confidence or to actually take action. Again, it's not just confidence that we want. Because let's say we go from a 2 and we build confidence and we go up to a 3 or a 4 or a 5. Let's say we get so confident and willing to take action that we're at a level 6, but that fear is still at a level 8. Will we take action? We're still not going to take action, right? So what we're doing is we're building confidence. So you're going, well, wait a second, I'm building confidence. I think I can do it, but why am I still not willing to take action? Why am I still feeling stuck and unwilling to move my life in the direction that I want? So there's two things that we have to think about when it comes to actually taking action. There's two things we can do. Number one is we can lower the fear and we can raise our comfort level with discomfort. We can raise our action limit of what we have. So very often people get stuck in feeling like, oh, I'm not confident enough, or they feel like, you know what, in order to take action, I got to be at a level 10. Guess what? If you wait to be at a level 10 with your action and comfort, you're just never going to take action, because you get to this after lots of taking action at 2 and 3 and 5 and 7. But what we want to do is we want to lower the fear that we have to a level that is below the limit of where we'll take action. So let's say right here, we lower that fear all the way down to a 3, and we raise our action limit up to a 5. All of a sudden, we got this gap. And so what we want to do, what we want to think about in life, is we want to think about how we create that gap. Brandon mentioned the Tapping Solution app. I hope you all go ahead and download that and check that out. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go ahead and jump into actually doing some tapping to actually become more confident. So here's where we're going to start. When we start to do the tapping, we're going to tap on the karate chop point, which is the side of the hand. Let's go ahead and take another deep breath in. Just kind of ground ourselves in our body. And breathe out. And we're going to start doing the tapping. And on parts of this, I'm going to leave some blanks in here, and you can just fill in the blank for yourself on what it is that you're feeling that is strongest for you. So tapping on the side of the hand, even though I'm feeling all this, and then fill in the blank for you. What is that for you? Just repeat after me. Even though I'm feeling all this, I acknowledge and accept what I'm feeling right now. I want to find a way to release it now. Now we're going to go through the different points on our body. Just look at what I'm doing. Don't worry about getting it right or getting it wrong. We'll tap on the face. When we tap on the face, you can do both sides. You can do one side. You can do the other side. Doesn't really matter. All this, and fill in that blank. Inside of the eye, and I'll start to fill in some of these blanks too. All this stress in my body. Under the eye, all this fear in my body. Under the nose, when I think about taking action, chin point, I get stuck in fear. Go to the collarbone point. This is if you find your collarbone point, you can go down an inch and out an inch. You can do it with both hands. This is a really easy one to do with both hands. All this fear in my body. Then we're going to go under the arm. Again, you can do one side or the other side. This is about the bra line for women. All this fear in my body. Now we're going to go to the top of the head. There's lots of different points here, so you can move around. Say, all this fear in my body. We're going to keep going. Eyebrow point. I want to find a way to show up as my full self. Side of the eye. I know I'm meant for more. Under the eye. I have big goals for my life. Under the nose. I'm meant for more. Chin point. Because I choose more for my life. Collarbone point. But I'm not taking the action that I need to. Under the arm. I've been stuck in fear and stress and overwhelm. Top of the head, and I want to find a way to release it now. Eyebrow point. When I think about this thing I want to achieve, side of the eye, this fear comes up. Under the eye, maybe it's the fear of messing up. Under the nose, or the fear of what other people will think of me. Chin point. I get stuck in all this fear. Collarbone point. And so I don't show up as who I know I am. Under the arm, but I choose to shift that now. Top of the head, I choose to acknowledge that I am enough. Eyebrow point, that I won't let my fears hold me back. Side of the eye, that I won't let my past hold me back. Under the eye, that I won't allow the opinions of others to hold me back. Under the nose, I choose more for my life right now. Chin point, to raise my action limit. Collarbone point, to raise my comfort level with discomfort. Under the arm, I choose to take imperfect action. Top of the head, knowing that I am enough and that I am safe. I'm going to go ahead and stop there and take a deep breath in and breathe out. And just feel into your body and notice what you're feeling, what came up for you. So what I want to do now is to reconnect with what we were feeling. So if you wrote down before in your journal, or you wrote in the comments that you were afraid of starting a business and it was at level 8, or you were really anxious at a level 7 about talking to other people, I want you to go ahead and write in the chat and tell me what's come up for you now, or what that level is at now. So notice in, feel into your body, and let me know what you were at before and what you're at now. So maybe you were at an 8 before and you're at a 4 now. Maybe you were at a 7 before and you're at a 3 now. Or maybe you were at an 8 before and you're at a 7 now and it really hasn't shifted too much. What the number does is it gives us feedback. And if that wasn't exactly what we needed to tap on, we can find other ways. Maybe that wasn't the core issue of what you needed to tap on. Now remember, going back to this, what we need to do with whatever we're feeling in any moment, whatever that next step is for you, where you need to build that confidence to take action, is we just want to get those numbers down. So if we were living at a 4, all of you, if you're thinking about your task at an 8, it might be down to a 3 now. And maybe you raise your action limit and now you got that gap to go, hey, you know what? maybe I'm willing to take some action on this. Maybe I'm willing to put myself out there.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.